Kings, Queens, how we all doing?
Greens, how are we doing?
Going to be checking general chat, I think, for this one. Um, got a bit of a different call today compared to our usual like AMAs and Twitter Spaces or Discord stages that we're doing. Um, into last quarter because that's how we typically with the launch of obviously like Lazy Cubs. We've spoken about this in the announcement. We don't want to harp on about what went wrong. I think there were a lot of emails that we got. Just starting off with a lot of positives about the fact that it was even able to mint out and it wasn't a piece of poo or some kind of goblin derivative in this current market. I think probably says quite a bit, but um, the main point of this call is we want to show you all how we're moving forward. Some of the key learnings that that we've seen and mistakes that we don't want to make again. So that's really the point of this call. So thanks everyone for jumping in. We're also going to have like an AMA at the end. So anybody who wants to come up, ask any questions live on chat, let's do that. We'll save some time for the end. We'll see how the timing actually goes because there might be quite a bit to go through. But I think let's just see how it goes, Hano.
Yeah, we'll gauge it.
Sweet. Before I start, just to give some context, thanks to everyone who did send in, emails with feedbacks, ideas, and all those good things. I read through all of them at the least. Showed some to the team, most of the team. We even read through some quite a bit, especially the ones with like meaty suggestions and stuff. There are a lot of good ideas. So definitely appreciate that. I guess with the key outcomes that we had, we actually have these on the wall. Because we had our own retro session, and pretty much, yeah, we've got them on like post-it notes actually. But moving forward, we're actually running every idea through this almost like funnel now, so to ensure that we're doing things the right way, or learning from before and just making sure that we're taking through that. Some of the short-term rules that we put in, like first off, and this is only because we're focusing on the short term a bit more right now. You guys know we've always had that long-term focus, but just during the stage where the market's at and everything like that, we're just putting a bit more focus on the short term, especially with recent changes. So we're only bringing on resources when absolutely necessary. That's the first thing. I think that's probably true for a lot of projects and probably just businesses nowadays, right? Considering what's happening in the markets. But that's one of our first ones. The next thing is like anything that can't be done in a month, just not going to be a priority for us right now. So that does mean that some things get pushed like back, but and nothing that we really announced anyways. These are things that we're working behind the scenes on. So that's that. Ideas are only going to be executed if they pass an ROI check, and I'll go into this later on like what that actually means. And committing to deadlines, or rather, not committing to deadlines when we're only in the ideation phase. Those are some of like the short-term rules that we're implementing for things. I think that's going to make a big difference. Like I mentioned, though, our findings that we had from our retro session actually mirrored a lot of the feedback that we received from you guys over emails. Like I mentioned, we reread all of them. Some of them we framed. Others we cried over. I expected a bit more depth, but it wasn't actually that bad. So I don't think I'd show my mom all the emails that I was getting, but overall, I definitely appreciate everyone sending those in. It's just to give everyone, insights onto what we did. The process was that, like I said, I reviewed every bit of feedback, reviewed some with the team as well, and we essentially like tallied it, so we could create like more quantitative results. So we could figure out, what are the key areas of concern from the community. I will say, keep those emails coming in. You can use Discord if you prefer, but I like the emails directly to me. I think it just worked really well, and I just want everyone to feel like they have that direct line of contact to me and Nine as well. If you want to address it to both of us, you should always feel like you have that direct line of contact. Overall, in terms of like the positive feedback, everybody loves the community and the art. Those are the two big things. And generally, people were happy with some of the deliverables to date. appreciating the current conditions and also like the mint out of Lazy Cubs. Um, and the fact that like in this market that a brand was even able to do that. Um, that those were like the main three pieces of feedback that we got. The areas for improvement were actually very aligned with what we had found in our retro as well, which I guess isn't too overly surprising. 99, the first one that came up by far the most
Yeah.
was 99 needing to be more present in the community. I agree. I agree. And there are obviously reasons as to like why we did things a little bit differently that we had. It's not like we had just chosen to be like, hey, like, let's not be as active
Yeah.
in the community, right? Especially how it started out, and then that's obviously changed. Um, but I think that's really positive, for us moving forward. Um, I joke a bit. I thought after we doxed, nobody would want to see our faces again, but I guess I wasn't too wrong about that. A lot of the feedback around this was, needing to just be more of the face of the brand. Obviously roaring and being on Twitter is, something that's been really critical for Lazy Lions as a brand. And some of the feedback was, the community's been doing that quite a bit. Why aren't the founders doing that? And again, like this isn't to go and provide reasons as to why we weren't, why we were doing other things, but this is what we're going to be improving on moving forward. And these are things that we've already implemented as well, right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is if we go back to our roots and how we first started Lazy Lions, we were all over Twitter, all over Discord. So it's something that we were definitely accustomed to. So it's not something that we can't do again. And I agree with the community in terms of we need to be showing our faces more, need to be more present. We are the face of the project. So yeah, I'm definitely on par there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like everything just sort of
Yeah.
came together with nobody saying nothing, right? Especially at the early days, it was very much like that. And that was, there was almost like a common theme. I think it's easier to sort of remiss because it was, in a bit of a bull market, and it was a totally new area, so it was a different kind of feeling. Um, but overall, like we agree, it does need to go back to that. We've already started to implement that. Like there are just some common things. Like we've got a big spreadsheet of like the idea and feedback, and like a could do, should do, will do when we're doing it, and like the status, and like this one being more founder presence in the community. That's me and I'm dedicating time each day to jumping into Twitter Spaces, Twitter, Discord, and like spaces where we can, um, and as well as other things like more interviews that we've spoken about before, too. The next thing was needing to up our marketing. Um, we know this, so I'm just going to go through just high level and all these things. The next thing was we need to be posting more on social media. Definitely agreed. Moderation of Discord has to be improved. There's a lot of feedback on this one, which for me is whenever I see this is really disappointing. Just because like we don't want the Discord to have um, that kind of image in the space, right? Like, I mean, I would think we're all adults. It's an adult brand, and I don't know what kind of kids are, but I mean, overall, you would think we're mostly adults. I think even in the surveys, it's all like 25 to 45. It's on average. Um, Plus, so it's like nobody wants to jump into the Discord and then be told what to do, or be told to quiet down and things like that. I don't think that's the kind of Discord we want at all. So that's one thing that has to be improved, along with these others. We should leverage the community members more. Of course, like there are a lot of brilliant people in this community. You're not saying we have to listen to every single person, but there are some members in the community who have a ton of experience in certain things. Some in business, some in creative, some in all kinds of other aspects as well. So we definitely agree. It's more about finding out, how we can do that more. But this was something that a lot of community members had asked us to do, and even offered help in emails as well. So we definitely appreciate that, and we've already scheduled some calls with some of those community members. So I appreciate that. There were actually quite a bit of people offering help with this. So I think this is something we'll probably be coming back to as we need, but we've got an idea on how we can do this on a larger scale rather than having one-on-one calls, which we'll talk about. Rules over floors no longer resonates. This is something we've got quite a bit as well. People don't like this, especially during, what it is seemingly Bobo hitting the market. and we need to get more out of our partnerships. Agreed with this, and also needing to move faster.
Yeah.
So that's overall like the areas of improvement that we got from emails sent to us, and also from our own retro. Like we mentioned, like this pretty much aligned with what we thought as well. So I'm just going to be checking general chat as well. Like I said, any questions or like feedback on any of those things so far. That's where we'll be at. But I guess moving forward, like the solution mode, right? Like what are we actually, how are we responding to that, right? So some of the things you've hopefully already seen to start to improve. Like we're trying to jump into spaces in Discord where we can. We're going to be upping that as well. Social media, we're improving by empowering Aaron. So I think you'll start to see this change, more and more over the next week or two. And then some of the things that we're working to implement as soon as possible. So Discord, I had this, message internally, which is pretty much like, let's just unban everyone, fuck it, let's open up Alcatraz. But we actually found out that there weren't that many, there was only one NFT holder of either a Lazy Lion, a Bungalow, or a Cub who had actually been banned. We're just going to unban that said person. If we notice that there's anybody else, or if you notice that there's anyone else, let us know. But this is something that the community, like we were getting some feedback specifically about, like, hey, don't be banning NFT holders, and like we agree, like we don't want to be banning NFT holders, but it was only one, and we're, like we said, we're opening up again, clean slate with everybody. Let's see how it goes. I think the overall feedback that we're giving to everyone, right, like community, the mods, the team, everyone, is just, it's really just don't be a dick. Like that's the biggest thing to everybody in here. Like, not in the chat, sorry, but like everybody in the Discord. Nobody wants to ban or anything like that. We don't want to have that image. I know none of us want that. So that's the big thing. Implementing new moderator guidelines as well that are more open to criticism. Like we said, we won't be banning anyone going forward unless there is absolutely no reasoning with them, and that's going to be reviewed by me, myself, and Nine. So any bans of any NFT holders, we're going to review that. So then, rest assured that if somebody does really get banned moving forward, like it's going to be a big deal. And rather, things like timeouts and mutes are probably going to be more used if they need to be, but even that we hope is going to be severely reduced. And like we said, primary rule for both mods and members is just don't be a dick. So that's that one. The building the strong brand as well. We're working on a new brand strategy that ties into our larger business direction. We will be presenting this to the community. So similar to like our town hall fashion that we did late last year. We're working on it at the moment. So like we don't have a set date at this stage, and we don't want to overpromise, right? Like going from our learnings from the retros that we did and all the feedback, like we don't want to overpromise and say that we can do this at a certain date. We don't have that date just yet, right? When we have that date, we'll present it to you guys. We'll actually next week we'll be in a better position to lock in that date. Nine and I are going to be reviewing brand strategy concepts as well this week. So just an FYI on that. In terms of like all the other ideas and feedback, just to go through the list. So I'm just going to go one by one. And if anybody wants to send any feedback in the general chat as we go through them, please feel free to. First one, and I may be repeating some of the things I just said as well. So disappointing deliverables, lack of deliverables. So this is one that we're implementing now. And the action item is a process or guideline for determining whether a project will deliver. We've developed a new process / like guidelines for determining whether a project will deliver value. I should probably give some context to this because it's like, well, how the hell did you make decisions before, right? And it's just a bit of context. Obviously, like when we started out in the NFT space, right, it was like very early. We were one of the first ones to really, take off. At the time, nobody really knew what the hell was going on in the space. Obviously, we had, working on it and chatting with a few people. There was a bit of a clearer idea, but it was new for everybody, right? I don't think anybody exactly knew how it was going to turn out. So that meant trying out things for the first time, right? And especially the position that we ended up being in, which is really like if you look at it, almost like the pioneers, because we were trying things for the first time for the whole space. And that meant things like, for example, like collectibles, right? And like the reasoning behind why we did these things. Um, Looking back at it, would we have gone a different approach? And even with things like Cubs, like, that in retro should have been done a lot earlier, right now. Like that's one of the things that
Yeah,
we learned from that. It was just like this should have been done a lot earlier. We should have
sure.
pushed out some of these other projects that we had been focusing on and done that. There were, like I mentioned, there were reasons as to like, why we chose not to do them. It's not like we just maliciously said, "Hey, let's not release Cubs until a bear market comes in." But the reasoning that we had was obviously not correct because it led us into that direction. So that's what I mean by changing the process, or like the processing guidelines, and determining whether a project will deliver value and when to do it. Um, that's the first thing. The need to move faster. Agreed. Agreed. Again, a bit of context. This came from just taking on too many different projects. Too many different projects, trying to do too many different things, which, looking back at it now, definitely not the way to be doing things. Definitely not the way to be doing things. So we're only going to be taking on projects right now in the short term that can be actioned within a month, which I think is a lot more exciting, right? Because people are going to get things a lot sooner.
Yeah,
So that's the big thing there. Needing to improve social media presence and content. Again, like definitely agreed. We're empowering Aaron, content planning, creating better graphics as well, and just the approval chain for like sending out posts. That's going to be shortened too. So that way, when ideas do come through, it doesn't have to go through all of us to approve. It's just, hey, more so Aaron. Maybe at the beginning it's a bit of feedback, but later on it'll just be straight to social media. Too much hype and not delivering on the promises. That was another one that came through. Um, I think the action item there, right there, that we have is just essentially less talk, more action. Which I think with the first action item the second one of just actioning things within a month, so that way there are more things coming out sooner. That should go hand in hand with that. More founder presence in the community. Again, we spoke about this earlier, but myself and Nine dedicating time each day to jump into Twitter, Discord, and spaces and interviews where we can. Idea and feedback. So the next one was disappointed with the past decisions / direction. That's why we did the retro. Moderators being too harsh. Stop banning people. Again, we spoke about this earlier because this was we've created new moderator guidelines, and we're inviting previously banned people back into the Discord. The ideas and feedback channel ignored. We are creating a clearer process for managing feedback. So where the feedback and ideas, where it's possible, I think you'll see Aaron responding to a lot of it. Where me and Nine can jump in, or it makes sense to jump in, will be there. My email is always open, so if anybody wants to just go straight to us, just send us an email. That's what it's there for. But rest assured, if you're more comfortable just sending in ideas and feedback, you can do that too. But it's not going to guarantee that we're going to read every single one. Of course, if you're sending 100 emails, that's not going to be guaranteed either. But we did read every single email that was sent in, and like I said, some multiple times too. Lack of transparency. With this one, the action item, with us being more in front, having more of a presence in the community, I think this one is going to be toned down a bit. So let's see how that goes. With us being more there, I think I've already started to notice it a bit. I think some of these questions, what happened before was, somebody would ask a question, and our thinking was, if it was answered by somebody else, maybe a moderator or someone from the team, a Raw King, that people would just take that. But what we found in our learnings is sometimes those answers just need to come directly from us. Otherwise, they keep getting repeated, and it almost becomes like a vacuum where people are left to their own thoughts, and we tend to think the worst sometimes, which I can totally appreciate. We're dealing in Web3, and there are a lot of bad actors. shit, the way I was reading my emails, I thought I was Zagabond for a second. But
Shit.
but so I totally appreciate that. So I think that that's where me and myself and Nine, wherever we can jump in and just and answer those things, I think will make a big difference. And we've started to do that, I think. So um, let's keep seeing how that goes. Leveraging the community again, like we think there's probably a lot of gold here. So something that we're doing, this is another one that's in progress, is building a community directory of businesses/services. So like determining community members' skill sets that can be utilized in project delivery, or perhaps just highlighting that for other community members as well. We've tried something like this in the past where it's like a services channel in the Discord. It didn't hit off amazingly. So maybe having a centralized location like a spreadsheet with this, it can start off as anyways, should go a long way. So that's something that we're in the progress. That's in progress. Some of these other things we haven't started yet. So the feedback that we got was trait subgroups have become toxic, and they're very exclusive as well. We've tried to look at this at both sides because I think there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that they do as well. Like I'm a big fan of like the Twitter Spaces that are going on as well. But this is some of the feedback that we've gotten, and I can even see some people asking in the general chat right now. But we've had feedback on this on both sides, and I think some have been pretty transparent in the ideas and feedback channel too. So that's why we're touching on it. Again, with this one, like we haven't started it yet, but the main action item here is, we're not moving to we're not going to be just doing big changes or anything like that. It's to have a discussion with the trade groups just to determine the best way moving forward. So that's the action item from that. And I can see, some strong feedback. The backbone right now definitely feels that way, right? I can appreciate how it feels like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But it feels like that right now. But again, I think there's a lot of positive from what from these groups. But
Yeah, and this is feedback that's come through to us as emails as well. So this is not entirely our opinions as well. So
uh-huh. So again, the action item here is to have a discussion, guys.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong feedback in the on the other side as well. Bearing in mind, like we said, it's feedback from overall, and some of those people might not be in the spaces, and this is just part of that. But again, moving forward, so removal of marketplace and floor talk channels. So this is an interesting one because we've had feedback on both sides. We haven't started this one yet. We're looking into, potentially introducing like a stat talk channel, rather than, because I think the Alpha Den has a different purpose, right? Where it was literally to share alpha, right? Which I think is a cool thing, if done properly. We obviously don't want community members taking responsibility for any calls or anything like that, and people getting upset, especially during a bear market where calls are probably more often than not compared to a bull market going to be wrong. So we don't want people to get burnt. But a stat talk channel, I think, is more important. And this is something I just want to touch on a little bit because obviously we had floor talk, right? And there was a lot of people really passionate about it and love that channel. And after reading through the emails as well, I can totally see why. Myself and Nine didn't obviously spend that wasn't a daily thing for us jumping into floor talk, but yeah, like we could see why it was a fun channel to be in. There was a ton of memes. People just it was really chill. I mean, the main problem that was brought up with us was the fact that it was called floor talk, right? Because it was like, well, hey, nobody wants to jump into a Discord and see floor talk, right? So it's like, let's change that. And in hindsight, like that definitely could have been done a different way. But I mean, I don't think anybody here really wants the Discord to be associated with a floor. Something like that image isn't too great, right? But definitely understand the need to be talking about statistics, right? Like there are people in the community who are more like financial minded, who care about these things. To me, it almost reminds me of like stock talk, right, or like equities talk, or like just any kind of financial talk, right? And it's like the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to not, do we want to exclude those kind of people from the community? And like that, like just asking that question feels really weird, right? Um, so that's the first thing. And like the next thing is, um, just with the floor talk, like just with floor, sorry, and I know I'm jumping from bit to bit here, is like my thoughts on floor, like I've always said it, is I don't think it's a crash out metric. Um, I never have. Just because I think part of it is I know the intense manipulation that goes on with this, and certain collections and things like that, and how it's so easy for this to change. And the other thing is it doesn't really tell you what people are paying for a collection. It just tells you for what it's currently at. Like if someone's you know selling bananas at $1,000 each, like I mean shit, you know, like that's not the. I did not explain that too well. Sorry guys, but I guess overall the metric that I think does matter is average price. If we're looking at like the metric for like entry, that's a lot. I think that says a lot more to people, and that gives you a lot more information than floor price. And we actually have this, like that's a stat that we have been tracking. I've been making this more public in the Dune Analytics as well. So if anybody wants to see that, I'll just send that query now as well. So it's on this dashboard. See, obviously this month it's dropped. I think there are other reasons as well. Obviously the feedback from what we're going through now definitely has played a part in this. Obviously Bobo has definitely played a part. But what I found interesting was so like April and May were both at the same level as December. And what was even more interesting, I think for everyone, is if you looked at it, January and February, which was during the roadmap, that actually had a higher average price than back in September and October, which was during that, I guess you probably refer to it as like the first peak. So they actually had, so that might interest some people because, there was some feedback, about like, wow, like it's just going downhill or certain things like that. It's like, hey, let's look at that in ETH terms. Willie, I'm seeing that. Yes, correct. But, we, at least from my point of view, like I've seen a lot of different views on this. A lot of smart people saying both ways that, they're sometimes priced in ETH rather than USD because there's no real correlation about USD going up or down and then NFTs going up or down as well. This is a chat like I'm interested in having as well. But from what I've seen personally, from people saying there isn't really a strong link and nothing that we've seen either. So that's that one. So again, this isn't something that we've started yet. This is just something that we've had. This is feedback that we've had, and we're looking at introducing a stat talk channel. And like we said, like the agenda will be pretty much the same as floor talk. I think you can't really set an agenda with floor talk because it pretty much said, people would just do whatever the hell they wanted there. But if the channel needed to have a purpose, it was to focus on more meaningful metrics and having those kind of discussions. The next thing was should focus on floor. So raws over floor is redundant. And this is something that's in progress. So we're moving away from that. The new North Star metric, well, like I would say new, this has always been the North Star, but it's revenue, of course, and volume. I've said this in the past, like volume is the main thing that we look at. And the supporting metric is average price. So making this more publicly known. This one had quite a bit of, really passionate feedback on the rules over floors. So we hear you guys. Next thing was needing a clearer vision, goals, direction. This, I think, ties into the brand strategy that we'll be presenting to the community. So again, this one's in progress. Prizes have to be delivered quicker. I agree. I think it, putting myself in like the shoes of somebody who's won a prize, I think it sucks ass when you win something and then you have to wait a couple of weeks to get it. That's not fun at all. And really the action item for us is to determine logistics to streamline this process. Some of this stuff I have to do, like it just comes back to me. So we're determining the best way to do this. Maybe at set times, maybe setting expectations. Yeah, it really does, Vigo. So, but the main thing is we don't want people waiting to get their prizes. It's just not fun. And apologies to those who did have to wait. We did send out the majority of the prizes. The only ones that are left right now, I believe, are the rewards giveaways from the Lions that was picked up.
Yep.
Those will be sent out today after this call. And we've actually got the winners too. So congrats to everybody. We'll be sending it out right after this call, and then we'll be proceeding with the next round of rewards. So lack of or slash pull marketing. I think it'd be realistically, obviously, there's some marketing because we've gotten the brand out there, and it's gotten 31K of volume traded, and it's one of the top collections of all time. Like I think it's like 60th now, still on the list. So with this one, it's in progress, and it's really about developing a strategic marketing plan and campaigns as well for releases moving forward. Another one was it's not that great that key members have left the community. Look, I think with this one, people leave for different reasons, especially with Bobo hitting and people needing liquidity, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And I don't think we should. It feels a little bit weird messaging people who have sold, just to be completely transparent, because it's like, well, they could have sold for any reason, and it's like you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, right? And just putting ourselves in, like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, if anyone who's sold out, like if somebody came back and asked me like, hey, why'd you sell? I'd be like, what the fuck, prick? Like, it's not your business, right? And I think that's why, like, since the beginning, we've had that sort of approach, like, don't shame sell anybody. Not cool. That being said, though, we know some have left for different reasons. And it's not that I think I've spoken about this before about, making people, having made people feel a certain way, which was not our intention. So we do plan on reaching out to some past members and seeing if they would consider coming back. If they want, sure. If not, like, totally fine, right? But just because of that, like, we don't, we're not, it doesn't sit right with us that, people were made to feel a certain way, especially because that wasn't the intention. But looking back at it, we can see how that happened. So these are some of the things that are coming out later, or like working on later. Needing more or better partnerships. This one's going to take time. Like anything with partnerships takes time. Like in biz dev, we've spoken about this before, and why some of these things take. These companies move slow. It's things that are out of our control as well. So really the action item here is creating a clear plan for partnerships and looking for partners who will deliver greater value as well. Collabs with other projects. This isn't something that has a set time yet, but we're looking at bringing back Lions Den. This is something that just fell down, way down the list. But that's the action item that we have with that. Another one was, not innovative enough or needing something big. There were a lot of points that countered this from community members, pointing to things like the fact that like bungalows and collectibles and, the things that we've done have been, innovative because they were the first in the space. But yeah, the action item, there's no clear, we haven't said an action item here just to be a little bit cheeky, but overall, that's the ideas / feedback that we've gotten from the community and our action items. And, when we're planning on implementing these things. I know I just went through a lot, and I want to catch up on the chat, and maybe it's easier if we just bring people up and we have Q&As that way. Overall, I just want to mention this again, like it was very in line with the retro that we had ourselves. I don't think anyone's blind to, what we could be improving on. And I think that's positive, right? Because, we've obviously all gotten to a place where even during this time, it's still well above, probably the odds of where we were at when we started. Obviously, we've got huge goals, and that's why there's a lot of ambition to get even better. And we agree, like we take that on for sure. But now that we've done the retro this time again, we take from our key learnings, we stick to those things, so that way when there is more feedback or ideas come to us or whatever it is, internally, if we're thinking about doing things, it has to pass through those things that we said earlier. right? And right now, as we're focusing on the short term, only bring on resources when absolutely necessary. Anything that can't be done in a month is just not going to be a priority. Ideas only executed if they pass through that ROI check, and not committing to deadlines when we're only in the ideation phase, right? And we'll communicate that transparently when we can. But those are the main things I would say. Some of the quick wins that we've already implemented over the past few days that you might have seen. We obviously announced NFT NYC. We're really looking forward to meeting everybody. It seems like not that many people, or like there's been a drop in terms of like overall NFT NYC attendance, but super excited to meet everyone who's going to be there. It's we had a great time in South by, and that was on a smaller scale, so I think this one's going to be even more exciting. Lazy Cubs is now registered on Rarity Tools, so you can check the rarity of the Cubs. So that's cool. And another one that we had was the metadata, and needing to be frozen. So what that means is like the images themselves, just to give a little bit of nerdy talk. So the images themselves of like everybody's lions, they're hosted on IPFS. IPFS is like decentralized storage, so like compared to like Google Photos or like Google Drive or like Amazon or some shit, it's pretty much just being hosted decentralized. So like, there's like multiple copies. You can almost think of it as like uTorrent or something like that, similar tech. But it just means that there's less of a chance that the files will disappear. So all the images are on IPFS, and we even pin those as well, meaning like there's paid hosting to make sure that they stay up. The metadata was centralized, meaning that like the actual JSON file, which is just like it says, points to the image and it says the name and it has the ID and all that kind of stuff. That was centralized, meaning it was hosted on our server that we have. Centralized sounds so dirty, hey man.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Hey, it's to be honest, it's not that big of a deal because we're all obviously actively working on the brand. It was just a big deal if something happened to me in Nine, and then no one could ever update the contract, and then eventually the files disappeared. So we've just moved that metadata file to IPFS, and then we contacted our nice friends at OpenSea, and they've given us a little frozen symbol on the UI. So now if anybody jumps to the Lazy Lions collection on OpenSea, you'll see the little frozen symbol, and you can be rest assured that whatever happens to myself or Nine, that the Lazy Lions data will survive. So maybe some of those death threats from the emails isn't too far. I'm just kidding. So that's one. We're looking at doing the same thing for Lazy Bungalows. There's just a little bit of a hiccup with the pinning, but that's been resolved. So expect that in the next couple of days. And obviously we've paid out the giveaways. We've sent out the Cubs that were promised to Raw Kings and things like that. We appreciate that, for helping out with the community and all that. So, and we will be announcing the winners from last month as well. And obviously moving forward, we're going to continue doing that with rewards, where we'll be giving them out to members who win the raffle.
A lot of eyes in chat.
I know. Why do I feel like somebody's watching me? Is what little Lily Bug Mermaid said.
A little bit scary, yeah.
Me when Ash talks tech. Hot. Cool. Well, look, I think with that we can bring up some community members because I've just spoken a lot. So again, I appreciate everybody jumping on too. Like I know this is a different format to previous ones. That's why we're having it in the Discord too. I think it was important to have this retro update. So let's jump into Q&A. If anybody wants to just request, and then we'll bring people up.
I think we've gone through so much feedback. I'll be curious to see who comes up.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come up, feel free to just hit the button in Discord, raise your hand, and then we can accept you up.
Yeah.
We'll give us a time, maybe. Maybe we just maybe in a perfect world we gave them everything they wanted. And it's just like nothing else to say.
Everybody's so shocked. They just
Like, what's going on?
My hand is raised. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey.
King, good. How you doing?
Great, great. This is an amazing space. So really good to get you guys clarify a lot of things.
Appreciate
Sure,
that. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you got that feedback, and that we're all doing that now.
Okay, I have a number of things I put in ideas and feedback just now. So first, I run a marketing agency called NFT Once, and I work with a number of projects, and I've came across a lot of cool ideas in Web3. There is a company that does AI stories, and I think a really cool addition to Lazy Lions would be adding a story for each lion to like update the metadata with a story created for each individual lion. Curious about your thoughts on that.
It's interesting, right? Because looking into like the story of like Lazy Lions and exploring the lore, that's something that we're obviously actively doing right now with the comics, which is in its like final stages right now, which is again like sticking to the retro that we had. Don't want to bring too much excitement, so I'm just going to shut my mouth there. But so this is something that we're doing. I think like user generated stories and things like that. I think like it definitely can be cool. I'm curious to see what the community has to say about this. I mean, with this, I would say anything that requires like official, like changing with the metadata and things like that. I think there are reasons you probably don't want to do that, right? I know there are some collections to do this. I'm thinking about like Forgotten Runes. I don't actually know if they put it into the metadata, but they have like a lore book. They open it up to community members, which I thought was cool. I didn't personally use, even though I'm a big fan of their project. It was like the first one that I got, or one of the first, anyways. But that has things that we probably don't want to be looking at doing it, because that involves changing the metadata, even though we've just frozen it. So that can be very confusing.
Yes, I
Plus,
thought about that. I had an idea to utilize some of the older collectibles, like such as the trading cards or things like that, to give access. So there's a lot of different companies that would like to partner with Lazy Lions for the exposure. If we would be able to get those set up, where we connect with our wallet that has our lion in it to verify, and then we could use these platforms that have all different tools, a lot of like different resources. I think the Unstoppable Domains was a great collaboration.
Not sure. And what do you see as like the biggest benefit for doing this?
I think it would get first. It allows people to get creative with it, and they would feel more of a attachment to it. It could also give more value to the trading cards, for example. Like I remember they had you had to get a bunch of them to enter into a raffle. So that's cool, but what do you do with it now? Like what's the value of it currently? So to add on more interaction from there to then give that a resurgence of engagement as well. It would get the members more involved, something to use, and that's something that they'd also post about on socials. Just it's another big avenue for engagement.
Yeah, sure. Look, it's something worth exploring. Let's see how the community responds to it. Like I said earlier, though, we need to run all of our ideas through our short-term rules and guidelines that we put in. And that means being able to action things obviously quick. The ROI as well, being very clear on that. What does that ROI look like for the community, for everyone? And obviously bringing on resources only when absolutely necessary too. So those are some of those things. But man, I appreciate you. So definitely keep it coming. We've got Thonman up as well. King, how's it going?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good,
hey,
good.
Man, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm first off super devastated I won't be able to make it to NYC this year, but it was great seeing you guys down in South by. We'll have to
Sure.
make the next one. But yeah, Moish just kind of asked a little bit what I'm working with a casino. We're launching that. But my question for you guys in the Pride is like, what are you looking for in partnerships versus like, what whitelist spot, allow list spots and that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously that's easy, which, I've already done that for the Lions because I love my Lions, my Pride. But like, when you're looking at organizations and different businesses, like what are you looking for, like for a true partnership versus like right now, with Puma, it's great to see something happening in NYC. But like, it's been slow coming, I know, and it's been like, okay, we're trying to come up and innovate. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on like what a good partnership would look like with Lazy Lions out of any kind of, other business or institution?
For sure, King. I appreciate you coming up, and man, I'm spewing because we did have a good time in South by, and man, NFT NYC is going to be like on a whole different level. So,
Oh man,
there's nothing to say, but yeah, you are missing out.
that hurts.
But I appreciate you,
That
man.
hurts. That hurts, man.
Well, I could have got you a drink there, but man, so with this, I think we touched on it earlier with the partnerships. Like, agreed with what you're saying. We need to determine what our partnerships plan looks like first, and that's something that in our feedback summary and the action items that we have as well. That's something that we haven't implemented just yet. We need to outline. I think we need to outline clearly like what we can offer versus what they can deliver to our community, right? And being super clear on that ROI exchange as well. Just to make sure that we get the most out of partnerships, because I agree with you, right? We need to be doing things that I agree with a lot of the feedback that has come in about this. We need to be doing things that are higher ROI for the community, simply, right? And uh, that mindset of just having some big brands and things like that, and aligning and doing some smaller things, like no, like let's be super clear on what the value exchange is here before proceeding. So. But I appreciate that feedback, King, and like I said, definitely aware, and that's how it's currently at.
No, thanks, appreciate it. I mean, especially asking because my company, like I said, we're helping the casino right now, but like we've got a lot of other great potential clients and partners, and I always think immediately of the Pride of like, okay, how can I mean, selfishly, how can I leverage this to help the Pride? But I just getting your thoughts and feedback on it is great, and hopefully everybody, because I know a lot of people in the Pride are out working other projects and working with great companies and things like that. So just thinking of ways to bring value to Lazy Lions.
For sure, and King, with that, I mean we've chatted before offline, but not about this. So if you just want to send me an email, let's just have a chat about this for sure.
Awesome, we'll do. Yeah, thanks, guys.
We'll catch up offline. Thanks, King. Awesome. Let's bring up Lilybug Mermaid.
Yep.
Okay, this is my first time speaking. Can you hear me?
We can. How you doing, Queen?
Good. I firstly want to start off with something positive. I just want to say that I'm very new to the space and that this has been the best community that I have joined. Everybody is so welcoming. I was blown away. Immediately, everybody was calling me queen. I didn't know what was happening. So it's an awesome space. So I just want to say, first and foremost, that you've built this amazing community and you should be commended for that. And second,
great to have you.
And so I minted some cubs, and I obviously I didn't make it in the space to mint lions, but the thing that I wanted to say is that I was always in the Discord like leading up to the mint, and I was like really excited. Everybody was saying reveal your cub, and there was so much hype and so much excitement. And then after that, it kind of died off. And so my suggestion is something super small, but the discords that I tend to spend the most time in are the ones that, we just play games, bingo, poker, Pictionary, the name that tune. So I love and appreciate these big ideas, but I also feel like sometimes it's nice just to know the people around you and who are the members. And so that's why I really enjoy a lot of the Twitter spaces. But I would like to see some little community building things done in the Discord. So thank you so much, and you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much, Queen, for coming up and sharing that. Yeah, no, I think you were about to say something.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Lilybug. I especially love the games in the Discord, as many of the community might know. I think Woozy, we're a bit competitive when it comes to like Galactic games and Lazy as well, Lazy Slyness. So I'm definitely on board. I think that definitely builds like a tighter knit community where we get to meet each other and learn a bit more about another. So any ideas that you have for games, I know you said tunes. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about that and what that is. So feel free to throw it in the ideas and feedback, or email Asher or me, and
Yeah,
we can look
I
at
know
it.
that I know it's a bot, so I'm a member of the clinic. And so I'm
Yeah.
not a poker person because I'm I'm so embarrassingly bad at it.
Likewise.
So I'm really good at like so I'm really good at like name that tune, or there's like a bot that draws something and you have to guess what it's drawing. And so those are the ones that I tend to participate in. But a variety of games I think would be good because there are people in here who love poker, or I don't know if there's like chess games, whatever. But anyway, just little things like that I think are fun.
No, for sure. I agree. Something I can definitely look into actually, because I personally enjoy that stuff as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the old school, like MSN or like even Merc style games, right, which are
Minesweeper,
pretty cool. And
Minesweeper Flag.
yeah, those type of things. Yeah, this is probably a great one for. We've got our community manager for those who are new to the Pride, new to the community. Aaron, who's our community manager, so it definitely feels like something we can probably explore with him further, and see what the community has any ideas or recommendations for things like this too. But Queen, thanks so much for coming up and sharing that. Again, great to have you in the community.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
I think it's just about to reach the hour, but I'm happy to keep going. Obviously, just respecting everyone's time, that it is reaching that hour that we had originally scheduled. But again, for myself and 9 and 2, I'm sure, happy to keep going. So cool. Kings, how we doing?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. How you doing?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I think iShock's going to go first. My bad, guys.
You're right, King. Do you think?
Okay, I think we're getting all mixed up here. What's happening, guys? How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good. Good. How are you, King?
I'm doing all right, man, guys. Yeah, finally, I was able to get my lion, so I'm so proud about that.
I know you've been in the Discord for quite a while. I was super excited when you got your line as well. It was awesome to see.
Yeah,
man, that was like the hardest 6 months ever.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be a part of the space with you guys. I fell in love with this project back in November, end of November, and my heart still lies in within this community and with the project that you guys have here. So I'm very thankful to be a part of this community and to be a part of the Cubs too. I think that was really awesome. So yeah, it's also good to hear my fellow Australians' voices.
Is that a New Zealand accent I recognize?
So I'm from South Africa.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
man.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thanks to you guys and to say what's up to my Pride. I'm so happy to see everybody here in the space too.
For sure, King. And I've seen a ton of positive reactions to when you got the line and jumping in, and I appreciate the feedback that you sent in the email as well. King, it's really good having you in the Pride. And if there is anything you'd like to ask us, while we're all on stage, like feel free to. But just wanted to come up, share that feedback. Like ton of really appreciate you.
Yeah,
Regardless.
thanks so much. I really do appreciate that, man. I really, really do. I'm probably the blabbermouth of this whole pride. I can sit here and I can speak for hours, so I don't want to take up any more time of you guys. But you know, yeah, I'm just so thankful to you guys, and thanks for the kind words, man. I do appreciate it. I'm always here. I'm trying to dive into the community. I'm trying to do as much as what I can. If there's anything that anybody needs within the community, you can also reach out to me. I can assist with whatever.
That's a cool offer. Yeah, King, thanks for saying that.
Cool, guys.
Thanks, King. I look forward to seeing your tweets and stuff. I read them and like them. So keep it up, man. It's empowering for me as well. So yeah, I love it.
Hoorah, hoorah. Thanks, King.
Awesome. We have iShocks as well.
Yeah, boys. I've known Ash a couple of years. We used to work together. It's a long-time listener, first-time caller. So it's finally good to be in the Pride. So I wanted to say a big shout out to the boys. You guys have done an amazing job getting the project to where it is and to where you're taking it as well. So a massive shout out to that. In terms of a question for the team, for those that can't make it to NFT NYC, what can we expect from the Lazy Lions?
For sure, King. Good to have you. Good to have you up. And what he's alluding to, guys, is our criminal days back in RuneScape, because that's what I previously used to do before this.
Sure.
So that's the. Just kidding. Just a lot of love there. Previous in tech sales, which is actually a super fun job. Really good times. But with NFT NYC, so we've been pretty much flat out with the event, getting ready for that. Obviously, it's coming up in 10 days now, right now. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of posts on social media from this. But I would love to know, like, is there anything that you guys would want with the event? Like, what are you guys looking forward to most with this? Hey, it's probably a question, for you as well. Like, anything specific that comes to mind with this?
Man, I'm thinking thought leadership. I think that's one of the biggest things in the communities that I'm seeing across the board, whether you're coming from the BAP and the way that they've taken the market by storm sort of thing. A lot of thought leadership comes out in these types of events. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to and looking to see from the feedback. Like I've got my own stuff going on here, so I can't make it across, but I'm really keen to see what you guys have on offer.
For sure. I mean, we do have we will be speaking at NFT NYC. They've been, I don't want to talk about them because I know there's a ton going on, but that still is in the stages of being confirmed, even this late in the game right now. And I think that's just how this speaking spots over there have worked out.
Yeah. So I haven't given us a
so it's
set
still
date yet. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it's still to be determined, the actual event time for when we're going to be speaking there. But as soon as we find out, like, we're going to share as much as possible of that trip. So that's the main thing. But yeah, I agree. I think that'll be really cool. And we're also going to be sharing a lot of photos from the event too. So mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be pretty cool for the brand overall. Obviously, everybody gets like IP rights and just being part of the brand too. So I think seeing the Lions out on Twitter and everybody, Instagrammable moments and things like that, and hopefully with the talks as well that we have with at NFT NYC. Not sure yet if we can stream that live to maybe Discord or Twitter or Instagram or whatever it might be, but I'm sure we'll figure a way, even if they don't make it really clear. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak too much about the actual event itself. But for those who probably may have not dived into the details, we've got the main event on the Monday, the 20th. That's gonna be at Ascent Lounge. I think somebody like shared some photos of like what the place looks like. You probably want to Google this. I would say it's probably worth it. Having a quick Google and seeing seeing what it looks like. We've also got an activation with Puma happening at their main store, right now?
Yeah, correct. At the Puma flagship.
At the Puma flagship store. That's right. Yeah. So anyone's Lazy Lions or Cubs. I'm sure you could even get bungalows. You can print them out on Puma shirts there, so that's gonna be really cool that you can take. And then there's also a VIP dinner that we're having too. So I would say with these things, like if you are attending NFT NYC, you definitely want to be at this event. So like register for the guest list. I think the details are in the announcements right now.
Yeah, correct. Inline updates. Register on the priority guest list, and you get quicker access throughout the line as well for the main event at Ascent Lounge.
Yeah, you definitely want to be there. And at the Puma flagship store, we're going to be there at 1 p.m.
Correct.
So myself and Ryan as well, even though it's going to be open throughout the rest of the day. So there's going to be a ton of, I think we're going to see a ton of content out on social media there for those who might not be able to attend. You'll be able to see a lot of that, and Lions all over Twitter, which I think is good for everybody. So it's definitely going to be exciting.
Much appreciated, Kings. I got to run for my own meetings, but much love. Stay safe.
Sure. Much love, King. Much love, King.
All right.
Awesome. We've got DJC.
Yep.
That was nice also having, a former criminal. RuneScape Day is up with me. I don't know if I'm confusing maybe some of the newer members of the Pride. Maybe. Just to give some context, it's an inside joke that we have with the community about how we used to play a lot of RuneScape growing up. That's how I got into programming anyways. And there are some jokes about what happened when we were 12 years old, but nothing serious at all. Cool. DJC, how's it going, King?
Oh, I think you might be muted there.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Kings, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So, first off, I just want to say, definitely appreciate you guys, the tone, the candor, the way you guys are approaching today's call. I've obviously been with the Pride before, Mint. And so it's been a 10-month journey with you guys, and definitely the tone of this call is appreciated, I think, by the community. Me, I talk to you guys pretty regularly, and I'm one of your harshest critics sometimes. So this call, I think, is a big step in the right direction. I think overall for the project and for you guys, it shows a lot of maturity. It shows a lot of growth in terms of leadership. I've got some, questions, quick. I know we're over, but I've got some tough ones and some easy ones. What do you guys want to tackle first? It's probably about 3 or 4 things that I think are top of mind, but yeah.
Whatever you prefer, King. The floor's yours.
Okay. Something easy, let's go. You guys have been in the project. You guys founded this. It's been 10 months. We're almost up to a year. I think a lot of the community feels that the where the project isn't where anybody necessarily thought, right? Like we all have really high expectations for the project and for you guys. So reflecting back and going through the feedback and emails and the retrospect that you guys had, what are 1 or 2 things that you guys would have done differently, knowing everything you guys know now in the project and the NFT space and just in general? Just curious with you and Nine, what you guys would have done differently that you think would have helped Lions excel even more.
Yeah, for sure. I think knowing that a bear market was going to come in and hit, I think that would have made a lot of difference. But I think the lessons that we've already mentioned previously as well, right? Like needing to move faster. Obviously setting, hiring slower as well. For sure, those are 2 things. I think really we probably would have launched Cubs a lot sooner with those things in mind. And obviously it's unfortunate with the timing, but overall, especially with the feedback that we had, a lot of people see that as a success given the current conditions. But obviously, if we could, to your question, if we could go back in time, just working on less things at a time. Really, I think that's been the most critical thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say as well. Just focusing on a few things and doing them really, really well, rather than a whole bunch of things and doing them, at a set, quality would be my biggest
Yeah,
takeaway from what we've learned. And obviously just timings of things as well.
yeah, because there are obviously some things that we worked on that fall through, or like some things that we released that don't hit it off. And I think like you mentioned, we're dealing in a new space. Like we're pioneers. Somebody has to try these things in the space, right? A lot of what we're doing is for like the first time for everybody. So we're in startup mode. So it's like some things are naturally not going to work. Like that's really the point of the startup. Like you try things, you see what works, and then you double down on the things that work as well, right? But yeah, I think those are the main things. But what was the next question, please?
Yeah. So along with that, I think you guys probably got a lot of feedback, and marketing is probably one of the bigger topics and criticism that you probably got in terms of just like the expectations and what the community feels what marketing should be, and what you guys have done so far with the project. And I thought a lot of expectations were lost when Lazy Cubs. A lot of people felt that you guys had said, "Hey, marketing is coming, marketing is coming." So just love to just hear, kind of what exactly happened. Where was the disconnect between you guys feeling like there was marketing coming and there was marketing for Lazy Cubs, and where it didn't follow through, or where it didn't come through or shine. Where is that disconnect, and like how do you guys move forward? Obviously you guys had hired Hazel, and you had Docs as consulting for marketing, for circumstances that you guys can't control. They're not with the team right now, right? But what did you learn from them? What kind of feedback did you get? Like where is marketing taking that next step, for you guys and for the project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's probably a couple parts to that question, right? I think the first is like everyone who's been in the team, like they've been great, right? Like they've been really good. I think it just, in most parts, like it just didn't align with our vision, and part of that was helping us, clarify that vision as well, which we appreciate. So I think it really came down to like a misalignment potentially of like marketers and our vision. Moving forward, like we've mentioned, we're literally reviewing the brand strategy this weekend as well. So that way we can announce next week when we'll be doing the presentation to the community. I just want to touch on that earlier piece though. Like the people that we brought in, like they had to go through also what we went through as well, right? And that was trying to do too much. And I think there were unrealistic expectations, even from our side, on some of the people that came into the team, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously that's a mistake that I made, right? In terms of trying to do too much overall for the project, and then that goes on to everybody else. So, we fully appreciate everyone who's been in the team. Obviously, like the main circumstances were out of our control, and that's why these things had to happen. But again, I think if we hadn't have tried to do too much, and we had focused on the highest ROI things, like we said, obviously this may have been in a different situation. But again, these are things that you learn from and you move forward, right? And you make sure that you just don't make the same mistake twice. There are also obviously things like we're still in early stages, so clarifying what the brand is, and that's why we're doing that brand strategy now, are important. And those things obviously hurt someone's ability to come in and move things forward. So it's definitely not the easiest thing in the world. So again, DDHC, I guess overall, that's why it's our priority right now, and that's why we're focusing on it.
And I can appreciate that, and I think the community can. I think the biggest thing is, how do we close the gap between, what the expectation is from the community of like what marketing should be for the project and what they expect, and what your expectations are and what you think marketing is, because I think there might just be like an overall gap in what that looks like, because it's a consistent thing that we've seen over the last 9-10 months is, the community wants marketing, more marketing. They have ideas of what marketing is. You guys feel like you guys are doing marketing is coming. So, and you don't have to answer now, but I think that's just something that, maybe in the back of your mind, I think would really help the community overall is like, how do we bridge that gap and like bring like where the community is and where you guys are closer together? Because I feel like right now they're on different sides, different scales. And so we need to, as a team, as a project, as a community, like we all need to be on the same page for marketing. And I think that's where some of the drop off is. I've got two more quick things that I'm going to ask, but I don't know if you've got any comments on that last kind of statement there.
Yeah, it's
So it's
interesting. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
was about to say the
I
same
think
thing. Go for it.
yeah, it is because it's like like the community and aligning ourselves together on marketing and things like that. I agree, it is important, and again, this is why we're doing the brand strategy so we can present that, because I think this goes a long way, right? I think this will cover off a lot of the questions that I'm sure you and a lot of people in the community have, right? Which is being super clear on who are we, where we going, things like that. So once we do that, I think that'll be a better time to then revisit this feedback. So let's have that.
That's fair.
Like we mentioned, like this is something we're actively working on, and then yeah, we'll see from there.
That's fair. So two last things. One is just on like deliverables. I think this is a great call. I think it's done a great job of restoring faith in a lot of people in the community. You talked a lot about like here are the steps you're going to take. So either now or like in an update, I think it'd be really important to just kind of list out like what are some real actionable items that the community can see today, tomorrow, next week, while you guys work on the long-term stuff. Like what are some immediate things? Like you talked about some stuff like, oh, you're going to unban people, or maybe come up with what the new Floor Talk version is. So there's small things that I think that you guys can do to have some immediate impact, and it'd be great to know like what you guys think those are and what the community can expect over the next couple of days and weeks. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of silence between now and then, NFT and NYC, and like that's going to be the big event. But knowing that there's some stuff that they can look forward to, and we can start rebuilding, the community through that. And then along with that, maybe you're aware, maybe you're not, like in the overall NFT kind of space, Lions, right now don't have the best, vibe. Like there's a lot of negativity in the space, especially towards Lions, and a lot of times. And so, the 80 or so people that are on this call and the people that are in Discord, they're hearing your presence, they're hearing your retrospect, you're saying a lot of things that are helping. And like, how do we take that and what this is and like amplify that across the space into like the other holders and people that had left? Because I think that's the biggest challenge now. It's not the people that are here and the people that are listening, because we obviously support you and we want to see the best for the Lazy Lions. I think it's what happens on a greater scale. And, we've asked like, for you guys to have more presence in like more queer spaces and other topics, but like, how do we bridge kind of this gap right now between like where all the other NFT communities are in the NFT spaces and where we are? And like, we always talk about, the bigger the project, we want everybody in the pride, and the bigger the space, the bigger the jungle. But like, how do we actually live that, and like, how do we figure that out? Because right now it does feel, I think, for a lot of us, that we're on our own island and everybody else is kind of doing their thing, and we're trying to figure out like, how do we all get on the same, world or metaverse, and it feels separated right now.
For sure, I think there's a lot of points to that question. So like, let me know. But I think the first part was the immediate things, the immediate action items, and I agree. Yeah, it probably will be good for the community to see that, for those who are keen. Obviously, this is a bit of a different call, right? So compared to our usual stuff, where it's more aligned with things that we're doing rather than like a retro. So we've got the action item list that we're looking at internally. We'll just share out that PDF, and then everybody can just see that. So happy to do that. So stay tuned for that. In terms of like there being like a downtick in communication over NFT NYC, no. Like again, that's one of the action items that we set out, was to have more communication, especially with myself and I, and having more of a presence. So that would go against what we've said that we're going to action. So that's not going to happen. And in terms of like the greater space and all that, I'd be keen to see what kind of data, like hard data, that you're looking at there that suggests something like that. But regardless, this is what we're working on right now in terms of like the brand strategy, because this all ties into that, right? Because again, we're speaking about perception, and outside of the community, the small time that we have to make that impression on people, what does that impression look like? And this all ties in with the brand strategy. But with that, we will be sharing to the earlier part of the question, we'll be sharing out the PDF of action items from that.
And I think that's going to be awesome for you guys to share that. I think in general, though, it is sentiment. There may not be hard data that I can provide or anybody can provide, other than the fact that most of the holders here are part of other projects, right? And we're in other Discords, we're in other Twitters, we're in different spaces, we're in different calls. And I think the general feel from the community is like, it's hard to have the conversation sometimes with other members or of other communities and be like, hey, you should come join the Lions and we should talk about Lions and we love Lions. And then without them going like, oh, you're just like roaring, and there's no substance to it. And real viability. And I know you talked a little bit about like, we're going to get away from the rows over floors concept, but I think like in general, as founders, the sentiment can only be restored in the greater community by you guys. And so your presence in NFT communities and other spaces and other conversations is really crucial, because, like I said, we've got 81 people in this audience. Every one of them here is going to, feel more confident in the project and you guys when they leave this call, hopefully. But how do you amplify that to the other 5,100, holders? We've obviously got a lot more holders than 81. And then we've also got, exponentially more people outside of the community that aren't part of the community yet, that we want to be part of the community. And so how do we get this message across and change kind of that sentiment overall?
Yeah. So with the first thing, there's always a way to get data. Like there are sentiment reports and things like that. Then I don't think it's worth glossing over and just using subjective data. But yeah, I think with the rest of that, like DJC, we've already said that we'll do that. Like with all due respect, I think now it sort of feels like just complaining, to be completely transparent. The brand strategy, the fact that we're going to have more of a founder presence as well, and these kind of things, I do think that brand strategy will answer a lot of your questions though.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. And Asher, I want to say, like, there isn't complaining, right? I think at the end of the day, all of us are here because we're passionate about the project. And if it comes off as complaining, it shouldn't, right? It's really just constructive criticism that everyone provided, I'm sure, via email, in the feedback channel, what they do in the Discord, Twitter. At the end of the day, we're all trying to figure out like how to make this work in the NFT space, not just this project, but every project, right? Every founder, every NFT community is trying to figure out like how do you make this work, and there isn't an easy answer for it. And I'm not saying you guys should have the answer, but I think these are questions and tough questions that we have to think about, and you guys have to think about, and everybody has to think about. So that's why I bring it up. It's not, to bash, anybody or the project, but there is general sentiment in the community, outside of the community, that we just have to be aware of. I mean, you're going to go to NFC, or NYC, and we want the rest of the community and the other people that you meet to feel it, right? Like we want everybody to feel that energy that we feel in the Lions, and that's all. But yeah, I think these are all the questions that I had. I'm sure if anybody else wants to come up on the floor, but I appreciate you guys, really taking the time and taking this seriously in terms of, everybody's feedback, and kind of taking the time to really address it properly. I think a lot of times they just kind of things get glossed over, and today that I think you guys, did spend some time to go into detail in the process of how you guys make decisions. I think that's always been a challenge for us, is like you guys make decisions and we don't know about the process. And so hearing that you guys are creating spreadsheets and you've got post-its and you've got, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what we may do, all these different things, it's good to hear that. So hopefully you guys see that transparency is appreciated, and the more you can give that, the better and easier this whole process becomes for, I think, everybody.
I appreciate you, King. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you for coming up and sharing that as well, and asking those questions. We have AR who's requested to speak as well, so we'll bring him up too. And anybody else who wants to come up and ask some questions, please feel free to. I think we're half an hour past the time, so I appreciate everyone who's still listening in. I appreciate everyone who's come up to speak and ask those questions. So, King, how's it going?
Hey guys.
I think this might be one of the last ones that we have, actually. Just to do
Okay, yeah, thanks. I'm
respect
lucky.
everyone's time.
Yeah, I just
How are you, King?
I'm doing great. I just wanted to add a couple things on what DJC said. I've been a holder for quite some time, and to be honest, I was like pretty inactive. I was like busy with real life, and I just had my Lions there. I was jumping in Discord here and there. Honestly, I never attended any space or anything, and I just wanted to kind of like connect with what DJC said, that there is some kind of like connection missing between the pride, the inside pride, and the outside world. So the reason that I'm saying that is because me as a holder, as I said, I was not involved. When I was looking like what's happening with the floor and the other stuff, I'm like, oh man, what's happening, But the reason that I approached is because I'm a holder, So once I got into the Discord and the spaces, it just made me feel like more bullish. So I ended up getting like more Lions. So I feel like we just need to work more on that connection between the pride and the outside world. So we have to like bring new people in so they can come here, so they can get to know us, so they can jump on like different spaces that we have, which is amazing, So I feel like that's one of the points that we should like work a little bit more.
King, I absolutely agree with you. And I strongly believe it's been the brand direction, which is why I'm confident that this will make things a lot clearer when we come to presenting that in the next one. We're going to be announcing when that'll be next week, just to set expectations with everybody, because this isn't something that it's completed just yet. So once it is, we go through that, and then let's revisit this feedback. I would suggest, but I completely agree with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much, King.
Awesome.
Cool. I think with that, Aaron feels like he was rugged a bit because I said AR, and it wasn't Aaron. So let's bring Aaron up. So
You see his
I
hand
don't
up.
get another death threat email, but this time from Aaron.
There we go.
Okay, Aaron, your stage to end it off. How's it going, King? He's that upset he doesn't want to say anything. We can hear you.
Hey, that's not fair.
And then
he puts out the vote, and then Aaron gets kicked out
Yeah.
instead
I,
of.
I,
That's what I
I
was gonna
think
say
I
as
think
well.
last
End up
time when we
losing.
spoke, I told you that those are the initials of my 1-year-old daughter. So it's so hard to change that, man. Sorry. I know it.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that's going to be it's really a good way to cap it off. NFT NYC, it's literally in what, like 10 days now.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be cool to just be around. Like it's all going to be NFT interested people there, and a bunch of kings and queens as well. So look, I'm excited for that. I know we all are. So if you haven't already, like Aaron said, jump in, register, get the token proof, put the details down for the priority list. But I think we'll end it off with that. Kings, queens, thank you so much for giving us your time. Like we mentioned, we'll be sharing out those things. I hope you found this informative as well. Just want to reiterate my email. That's always there for the feedback too. If you want a direct channel to me and Nine, that's always there. So again, thank you so much. We'll leave everyone to it. Have a great day or night or wherever you may be. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everybody. Appreciate you all. Thanks.